This is my absolute favorite Breath of the Wild 2 theory that I have heard so far. What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This is Dusty, one half of Our Radiant Gaming, and today we are talking about Breath of the Wild 2 theories. And just to get it out there will be spoilers for past Legend of Zelda games as well as Breath of the Wild. In order for me just to explain some of these theories, I have to talk about some of the older Legend of Zelda games and, of course, Breath of the Wild 1. Also, keep in mind that these are just what they are, theories. They are not confirmed by Nintendo. They're just something we're having fun with, something that we are speculating about. These are, however, some of my favorite videos to make. I absolutely love speculating about new games. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the first theory that I am so intrigued by, and that is that the Twili are actually in Breath of the Wild 2. Do you remember the swirly blue-greenish stuff swirling around in the 2019 trailer? A lot of fans are saying that this is actually the Twili from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. The Twili are shadow people descended from Hylians who try to use their magic to take the power of the Triforce for themselves. Even the hand that is holding Ganon really resembles that of the Twilight architecture. There are also a lot of other elements in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer that actually resembles the Twilight. Especially when you look at the ports that let the Twilight invade Hyrule in Twilight Princess. And actually, it's a known fact that Breath of the Wild 1 actually toyed with the idea of UFOs. That's actually not even a joke. So could it be that we see shadow creatures falling out of UFOs in this game? I don't know about that, but it is true that they did spitball the idea of using UFOs. Could you imagine if literally every theory we talk about does not end up coming true in Breath of the Wild 2, and actually really what we see are UFOs flying around the world in Breath of the Wild 2, just abducting cows and causing mayhem? Is that the real theory we need to be talking about on this channel? Going on with the Twilight theory for Breath of the Wild 2, you know how far we go as gamers to prove our theories correct. And that is no different with this Reddit user who says that if you play the trailer's audio in reverse, it actually has a lot of notes that sound a lot like your first encounter with Zant. Zant is a Twilight who served Ganondorf in Twilight Princess, and though he is defeated, claims that he will return through the power of his god. Some fans have actually pointed out the fact that this zombie Ganon that we see in the first Breath of the Wild 2 trailer actually really resembles the Ganondorf that we had in Twilight Princess. They state that his headpiece actually looks exactly the same. And if you look at the two side by side, you can really see the resemblance. And that is a pretty awesome theory. All the other stuff aside, the bluish green swirly stuff we see really does resemble the Twilight, and they are the only beings that we know of that can wield this magic, so I don't really know what else it could be. And number 2 on the list of theories I want to talk about is actually from my great friend Mark. He's a huge Legend of Zelda fan, and I knew that he had a ton of ideas for what's going to be going on in Breath of the Wild 2. So I gave him a call and asked him a few questions about what maybe he thought is going to be going on in Breath of the Wild 2. He states that with his theory, a lot of what we're going to see in Breath of the Wild 2 does revolve around this weird arm we see the Link having in the trailers. The trailer does a great job at showing us tons of arms. Link's arm, the arm that's holding Ganon, the new Sheikah Slate arm that we see on Link, and it really revolves a lot around arms. And it's clear to us that this new arm has replaced the Sheikah Slate in Breath of the Wild 2, as we see Link using some form of stasis that actually reverses the trajectory of some of these spiky things coming towards him, and he just reverses him back in time. He states that as we see in the trailer, that this malice that attacks Link's arm really messes with him throughout the entirety of the game, maybe even resulting in some sort of infection going on in Link's body. Something that actually support this is the fact that AJ Onuma actually says that this game will be darker than Majora's Mask. And with that statement, I'm just assuming that theories like this of Link being hurt with the infection of the malice isn't really out of the question. Mark also states that you can see in the trailer that Ganon has been storing malice inside of him for who knows how long, and it's clear that it's pouring out of him. And when Link gets near him, this causes some sort of reaction that does not end good for Link. One really strange thing I did pick up on this trailer is that the arm that is holding Ganon actually reaches to save Link at some point in the trailer. And I know it's Link because before this, we see Link holding a torch with that same hand with the glove on. And even subtly before this scene, we actually see Link and Zelda grabbing arms as somebody is falling. So like I said before, arms are playing a huge role in this game, and they have really not shied away from showing us that in these trailers. And whether this Sheikah Slate arm comes to Link after the events of this malice attacking his arm, or he gets it from some of the past characters we have seen like Pyrrha, that remains to be seen, but it's clear that at some point he gets this Sheikah arm after the malice attacks him. And in regards to all the floating land masses we do see, Mark says that this could be happening because all of the malice that Ganon has stored up has just made the world go nuts, and he is breaking the world apart, causing chaos like Ganon does. And in the trailer, we do see malice pouring out of Ganon. We can assume it's hitting the ceiling and going crazy, and this only further proves this theory. And what could we be doing with these floating land masses in the game that we clearly see Link exploring? Mark states that he believes that there could be a high concentration of malice on top of these land masses, and that we have to go and fight dungeons on each of them and clear out the heavy concentration of malice using Link's new Sheikah arm. And then of course, after talking about this crazy theory of Link cleaning up the malice with his Sheikah arm, we started talking about what the storyline could look like, especially since this game is going to be a lot darker than Majora's Mask. We talked about all kinds of theories and way the storyline could go with all of this, but we ended on one that I found particularly interesting. Could it be that Link absorbs so much malice with the Sheikah arm that he actually dies, saving the world and becoming the true hero? I know that's really dark, but keep in mind this is supposed to be a very dark game. And of course, that's just a theory. I really hope Link doesn't die, but that could really make the story dark if we're taking what Anuma said literally. And then the third theory I want to talk about actually really struck me as super interesting from the first time I seen it. This theory states that we actually play as Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2. I know that is insane, but hear me out for just a second. Barrett Courtney of Kinda Funny suggests that this game will be learning about the fall of Ganondorf, the man, and then saving him from the evil that has been ruling over him for generations. And in doing so, we will break the cycle started by Demise. I know that is a bold statement. I know that's crazy, but keep in mind that Breath of the Wild did actually break the traditional Legend of Zelda mold. And with that in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe this isn't that far-fetched. He also suggests that the Breath of the Wild 2 name, which hasn't been officially released yet, could be Demise of the Wild. Of course, making reference to the corruption started by Demise. And actually, Bill Trennan, Senior Marketing Manager of Nintendo of America, actually touched on the subject of why we don't have a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer yet, stating that they don't want to give too much information away because if they release the name in the trailer, it could really drop hints of what the game will be about. He said those subtitles, they start to give little hints about maybe what's going to happen. And with that in my mind, if it is Demise of the Wild or whatever the name is, it's clear to me that this title will really give away a lot of information about what the game is about. Courtney of Kinda Funny actually suggests that Skyward Sword, which was released in July of 2021, was released on purpose, stating that Fujibayashi wants to connect all three of his major games together, and getting Skyward Sword to Switch will give first-timers the backstories they need before Breath of the Wild 2. And I mean, one thing that really does prove this theory to be possibly true is the fact that in the second trailer, we do clearly see either Link in a different time period or another character, as we see someone running around that has longer hair and then someone running around that looks like Link from Breath of the Wild 1. And if it is two different characters, what's to say it's not Ganondorf? And even if it's not, we don't see the face of the character. They don't show the face through the whole trailer. And if that's not a little odd, I don't know what is. One thing that further supports this theory is that in Breath of the Wild 1, Impa gives us a cutscene talking about a hero from 10,000 years ago. What a lot of fans have stated is that that hero in that cutscene actually looks like Zombie Ganon. And as crazy as that is to think about, in the scene where he stands up in the trailer, he does seem to be wearing the same tunic as whoever it is we see in the trailer falling in the sky. And that is crazy to think about. They even mentioned in their video that Breath of the Wild 1 was kind of story dry, but did kind of set up a lot of base steps for an amazing story in a game like Breath of the Wild 2. And if this is something that we could be seeing with the story, this is nuts. And something that I think that the Legend of Zelda game really needs desperately. And I actually agree with this. I felt like the Breath of the Wild 1 story was really not there. And I think that the lore that they have set up for Breath of the Wild 2, they could really make a story that would absolutely blow our minds. And I know I'm specifically hoping for this and really hanging on to this hope because I love a good story in video games. And in my opinion, Age of Calamity actually had a really good story. And whether we're saying Age of Calamity and Breath of the Wild are one and the same, I just want to throw this in there. Calamity Ganon is actually a playable character in Age of Calamity. He's not in human form, but he is a playable character. And in my humble opinion, the Age of Calamity Ganon actually looks a lot like Demise from Skyward Sword. And if you have kept up with this game for any length of time, you will know that there are theories out there that Demise will be back in Breath of the Wild 2. Of course, people have pointed out how this is not possible, and I'm actually going to throw a video up here by Legend Zone that actually explains how that is not possible. And I know they're totally different games, but since we're on this theory, I'm going to mention it anyway. Could it be that the playable Calamity Ganon in Age of Calamity is a subtle nod to being able to play Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2? And while I do feel like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is really just what it is, take it for face value, just something to keep us entertained until Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, could it be that being able to play Calamity Ganon in Age of Calamity is actually a subtle nod to playing Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2? Or do you think that's far-fetched and there's no way? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to see what you guys think about that. And then number 4 is a bonus one I wanted to throw in for you guys. This is my absolute favorite Breath of the Wild 2 theory of all time. And this theory comes from none other than my wife, Ashley. She states that the two characters we see in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer is not Ganon, is not Link in the past, is not some other playable character, but instead is Link, who lost his hairbow. And that is my favorite theory that I've ever heard. I love that theory. This is definitely the best Breath of the Wild 2 theory, bar none. You can say what you want to. I will take that one to the bank. That one is my all-time favorite one. All I know is that whatever they're going to do with this game is going to be phenomenal. Legend of Zelda is in no way shy of messing with our heads and our brains as far as the games go. And I think that's not going to look any different for Breath of the Wild 2. And that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for letting me talk about this. This is one of my favorite types of videos to make. I love the speculations and theories about games that are going to come out and just seeing if we're right or wrong when the game does release. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit the like button. It helps me out a ton. Also, if you want more Breath of the Wild 2 news, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn the bells on so you don't miss a video. My wife and I do also stream over on Twitch. If you guys would be willing to check that out, the link will be in the description below. Everyone have an awesome day. God bless. And thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to check out my other video that does talk about everything we do know about Breath of the Wild 2 so far.